Hi, welcome to Wetpixel Live. My name is Adam Hanlon. I'm the editor of Wetpixel, and we'd like to thank XIT 404 sponsoring this episode. They do a range of accessories, including zoom gears, extension knobs for housings, and a range of other kind of hard to find accessories. So please head on over to xit404.com and check out what they do. I'm joined by our regular contributor, Alex Mustard. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Adam. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too. I thought I'd ask Alex whether he's qualified. So, Alex, what diving qualifications have you got?
Yes, I've been certified for a long time, which has a slightly different meaning, I think, on this side of the Atlantic to elsewhere. But yes, so yeah, I think it's a question that certainly comes up a lot. Is people want to get into underwater photography. What diving qualifications do I need to take up underwater photography? We're talking very much as hobby, recreational underwater photography here. I think the first thing to say is that there is no required qualification.
No.
However, I think that, focusing on your dive training and certainly building your dive experience is absolutely critical to being both a good and a safe underwater photographer. And, but how much I think is very personal.
Yep,
so
absolutely.
I thought I'd show you my recreational diving qualification cards. One of my cards actually got my own picture on, which is rather nice. It was
That's very
Paddy
cool.
Today, a special edition with where you could order cards, and one of my pictures was used in that. So there are my diving cards. The photos aren't particularly dodgy actually, because they're relatively reissued cards. So the qualifications are older than the cards. I've got more hair, but and I'm a bit fatter in that picture than I am now.
I can trump you in numbers.
Those are my main two. And the two that I have and I use for my travel and that sort of thing: advanced open water diver and enriched air diver. I've also got other qualifications, but those are the two that I would say are kind of the passport in. But I know you've got far more than me. So actually, show us what's in your wallet there, Adam. You should maybe put yourself full screen so we can see these nice and big.
Oh, I'm not sure that we should really.
Okay.
That's
I want to see that bigger. It's actually really tiny on my screen, so I'm going to have to watch the video back to see that bigger.
Zoom in. Oh, there's some
What's that one? What's the age of it? We shouldn't spend too long on this, but
that was in 1999. As it happens, it's my advanced nitrox qualification. So there you go, back in the day.
Oh wow, 99 for nitrox. That's pretty good going.
When we were young and more foolish. I've got. There's all sorts of things in here.
2002 is my nitrox.
Terrible pictures here. Look at that. There we go. Wasn't I a handsome youth? Anyway, moving swiftly on.
No. I'm not moving swiftly on. Let's see some more dodgy pictures. This is much more fun.
I do these. I have to say is my.
Maybe I should ask you the question, as someone who's done a lot of diving qualifications. Do you think that all those qualifications have actually, they've all made you the diver you are now, and that's part of your. So although hardly any of those were essential to get you going.
Yeah.
I think that they've all made you the diver you are, and the diver you are makes you very, very capable with a camera.
So I think this is probably we should probably distill this back down. Is that the question that frequently gets us: what training, what experience do I need to be a successful underwater photographer or a competent underwater photographer, possibly? And the answer is it varies. And yes, you're right. I've been diving for a very long time. I've done a lot of training over that time, and there's no doubt that that's a cumulative process. The more training you do, the more rubs off, and that helps. But I think we need to balance that as well. In like you, Alex, I've also spent a lot of time diving. I spent a lot of time underwater, and developing my own dive skills. And one of the things that I'm like to think, and I try and be, is very self-critical as well. So when I'm underwater, and I'm constantly trying to think of whether I could do something in a better way, and be that in terms of my buoyancy control, be that in terms of the way I'm using my propulsion techniques, and the position I'm in the water, particularly taking photographs. So I'm very kind of self-critical, and I do tend to come out after a dive and think, well, actually I should have done that, or why didn't I try that, or possibly that worked pretty well, I'll try that again. All of these things. I think the moment we fall into this rut of going, well, I've done a load of training, I've done a lot of diving, I don't need to worry about it anymore. I think that's when we start going wrong in many ways. So I think the first point I would say is that the mark of competence is that you never really feel you're competent.
To distill that down, it's you never stop learning. There may be some things that are good to do before you start, but that doesn't mean you don't carry on trying to get better as a diver, absolutely. Because it will help you as a diver, and it will also help you as a photographer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's that's kind of I think a very good point. And it's not about this minimum requirement. It's actually, this is a constant process. And I think if you take that on board.
And I think you also need to be wary of this idea of, a certain qualification will qualify you to be a photographer. And I mean, my experience of training is that there are some people that generally find things like buoyancy control much easier than other people. We'd often described as being natural, or whatever the phrase is. But I think that really, particularly buoyancy as an underwater skill, is something that most people get better at with time. Even the ones who find it instinctive, who can do it intuitively, again, their buoyancy control will improve as they gain experience. And the question is, how many dives should you do before you start taking photographs? Well, the answer to that is probably it depends. But you really want to think, can I manage my photography equipment in a way that means that it's safe for me and the environment? And that would mean, if you need to settle down to adjust your camera settings, you're probably not ready to take a camera underwater, or certainly not ready to take a camera underwater in an environment where there's stuff that could potentially be damaged. That would certainly be true.
I think that the other side of that, which is the same point, but from the other perspective, is that you need to be used to the whole process of diving before you add that extra complication. You need to be used to the fact that now I check this, now I do that, now I need to keep an eye on this, now I need to think of that, so that all those things are very natural, that you're thinking them anyway before you add this extra distraction, because otherwise this big distraction in your hands takes over everything, and you forgot to check this, and you forgot to check that, and you forgot to pay attention to this, and you forgot to pay attention to where you are. And suddenly other much more serious problems start to happen. And I think those things come with time. And like you say, everyone has a different speed. And so I think the worst thing we can say is to say, you need to do 20 dives before you take a camera, or you need to have done this qualification. Actually, everyone has a different level. And at the same time, some people might be ready very quickly. Some people might take them a lot longer. And at the same time, none of us should ever think that we've reached a level and therefore we no longer have to try and improve our diving. And our photography.
Well, one of the things I really notice is that when I'm shooting video underwater, I use a lot more air. And I think the reason is that obviously I'm the stable platform for the video camera, and I'm constantly adjusting my buoyancy, whereas normally I adjust my buoyancy much less. But I find when my breathing rate, basically my breathing is much more, I'm adjusting it a lot more when I'm shooting video. And I think those are the kinds of little nuances that experience can help you build up. And I don't think there's a shortcut to that. Some people inevitably learn lessons quicker than others. That's life. I thought I'd turn the conversation around a little bit, Alex. Which are the qualifications you travel with? So you flashed them at a
that's what I was kind of pointing out, is that I think also it's I'm traveling for myself, so I travel as an advanced open water diver because I think that says I know what I'm doing, but I'm not coming here to do anything other than my own diving, and it allows me to go to the recreational depths that I'm usually going to be photographing. And obviously I travel also with the nitrox card, because I think whenever there's the opportunity to dive on nitrox, it's a sensible thing to do. In the UK, I also, having done the self-reliant diver qualification with you, I think that is also something that I tend to travel with. I may not flash it on a liverboard. I'm not someone who, I think you flash what you want to do rather than go, oh, and I'm this and that and the other, and you need to be, I'm yeah. So I'm usually advanced open water and nitrox covers me for pretty much everything I want to do.
Yeah. I think this is again possibly a mistake. If your goal here is to be an underwater photographer, you don't need to be a diving instructor. It's not. If you want to be a diving instructor, become a diving instructor. But in many ways, if your goal is to take pictures underwater, you want to seek qualifications that allow you to get to the environments you want to get to. And obviously, if you're particular, you want to take picture deep wrecks, then you need to go after the qualifications that will allow you to safely undertake that type of diving. Yeah. But in general terms, for most underwater photographers, we're shooting well within recreational limits. We're not going to great depths, so on and so forth. And the fairly sort of standard diving qualifications are more than adequate. There's no need to have any more. I'm glad you highlighted nitrox. I think nitrox is a really important qualification for traveling divers. On all our trips, for example, nitrox is a standard add-on. Majority of liverboards now, you dive on nitrox because they don't pump air anymore, and I think that's really important. And it helps to increase your bottom time and for you to stay safe. Yeah.
That's it. The only other thing I'd sort of add to that is I'm always very happy to show those cards as well. And people often go, look at me strangely when I get the cards out when I join a liverboard, particularly when it's like, I'm diving with, local dive staff who I've been diving with for 15 years and everything. But, you never know when someone maybe has had a medical incident and has had to surrender a card or this, or, you never know what's happened. And, I never ever feel, people go, oh, well, I know we've got your books on the shelf, but can you show us your card? I like, we should be used to doing that as divers. And you should never be, too big for your boots in that regard, and be willing to, show those.
And in many ways, I mean, it's a respect thing, isn't it? We're respecting our hosts by complying with their procedures. But I think also the fact that they have a procedure is a good thing. They're interested in our health and safety. They're interested in keeping us safe by making sure that we hold appropriate qualifications. Absolutely, I quite agree. I think that's a useful roundup. I'm glad to say I got away without showing too many of my terrible pictures from my youth on my cards.
Yeah, what you'll have to do is you'll have to edit in some full screen pictures of them just so everyone can enjoy them properly, Adam. Maybe now at the end you could just fade out with lots of them.
I think if people really want to see pictures of my cards, you can add it in the comments and I'll think about it.
Probably data protection, you can't share them, Adam.
No, well, I think probably not sure about data protection. I think we're putting cows off their milk and stuff like that. Anyway, fantastic. Thank you, Alex. Very productive. And thanks again to XIT for sponsoring this episode. Please feel free to ask me to show me the rest of your cards in the comment section. I'm not guaranteeing I will, but you can ask anyway. Please drop us a like if you enjoyed this, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you very much.